The world stood still. Tears, love, and the legacy Yumenglong left behind. The news broke like thunder on a calm morning, the kind that shakes you even before you understand why. Yumenglong, the beloved Chinese actor, singer, and filmmaker whose smile had once melted millions of hearts, was gone. The moment the announcement hit the airwaves, time itself seemed to freeze. The world stood still. People who had never met him felt the weight of the loss as if a piece of their own light had been extinguished. The internet became a river of sorrow. Fans flooded timelines with memories, music, and movie clips of the man who had once made them believe in love, laughter, and the power of dreams. Hashtags carrying his name trended across nations. Even those who didn't know him paused to watch his old performances, mesmerized by the sincerity that seemed to live behind his eyes. For years, Yumenglong had been more than just a celebrity. He was a story that people grew up with. His journey from a quiet dreamer to an international star had inspired countless others to chase their passions fearlessly. He wasn't merely admired, he was cherished. Every time he stepped in front of a camera, he carried with him an aura of calm that made the world a little softer. And every time he sang, his voice carried the kind of emotion that could reach right into your soul. When he passed, there were no words that could measure the emptiness he left behind. In cities and small towns alike, fans gathered in silence, holding candles and pictures of his smiling face. There was something hauntingly beautiful about it. A sea of people united by heartbreak, whispering his name as if hoping he could still hear. Some stood outside his former studios, placing flowers on the ground. Others replayed his music videos, staring at the screen through tears, remembering the man whose light now lived only in memories. Among those hit hardest was Xiaozhan, his close friend and co-star, who had shared countless hours of laughter and work with him. When he appeared in public after the news, his eyes were red, his face pale. Cameras caught the moment he broke down while speaking about Yumenglong's kindness, the way he always encouraged others even when he was struggling himself. He gave everything, Xiaozhan said softly, his voice trembling. He never stopped believing in beauty, even when life wasn't kind to him. Those words echoed through the hearts of millions. Yumenglong's passing didn't just take away a person. It took away a force of warmth that had quietly shaped so many lives. His colleagues described him as a man who never raised his voice, never let fame harden his heart. Directors often said he had a rare gift, the ability to make a scene feel real, not because of grand gestures, but because of the depth of truth in his eyes. Every emotion he portrayed, every smile, every tear, came from somewhere genuine. That was what made him unforgettable. As the days passed, tributes poured in from every corner of the entertainment industry. Fellow actors shared behind-the-scenes photos of him laughing between takes. Crew members posted stories of his humility, how he would stay back after filming to help clean up or comfort someone who was nervous. Fans wrote letters as if speaking to him in another world, thanking him for being their light during their darkest times. "You taught me to dream," one message read. "You showed me that kindness can still survive in a harsh world." At his memorial, the air was thick with emotion. The hall was filled with soft music, his own songs playing quietly in the background. There were flowers everywhere, their petals glowing under gentle light. The scent of white lilies filled the air. Friends, family, and fans sat together in silence. Some cried openly, while others clasped their hands tightly, trying to hold themselves together. A video montage played on a large screen, showing moments from his life. His first audition, his laughter on set, his gentle waves to fans during concerts. Every image was a reminder that this wasn't just an artist who had died. It was a soul whose presence had once made the world brighter. Many spoke of how he had never lost touch with his humanity despite fame. He visited orphanages quietly, supported young actors behind the scenes, and always found time to speak with fans. He believed that love and kindness were not performances, they were responsibilities. That philosophy became his legacy. In his private life, Yumenglong was said to be introspective and deeply thoughtful. He loved reading poetry and often wrote late into the night. His close friends revealed that some of his most famous songs came from letters he never sent, fragments of emotion written when he was trying to understand the world and himself. Those who knew him best described him as gentle but strong, sensitive but wise, someone who could feel everything too deeply and still smile through it. After his passing, many revisited his early works and noticed something they hadn't before: a certain melancholy beneath his smiles, a quiet sadness in his eyes that perhaps no one fully understood. It made people wonder, had he been carrying pain even as he made the world laugh and love? Fame, as beautiful as it looked from the outside, often hides unseen battles. But even if he carried his pain in silence, he transformed it into art that healed others. That perhaps was his greatest act of love. The legacy he left behind was more than fame or awards. It was in the way people began to treat each other a little more kindly after hearing his story. It was in the inspiration that pushed young artists to follow their dreams without fear. It was in every fan who looked in the mirror and decided to smile again because Yumenglong once made them believe in the beauty of living. Time will move forward, as it always does, but the mark he left will not fade. His name will be whispered in conversations, his music played on quiet nights, his films revisited when someone needs to feel something real again. Because Yumenglong didn't just act, he connected. He didn't just sing, he spoke in a language that the heart understood. Even now, his social media pages remain alive. Fans continue to post messages daily, small notes of love, gratitude, and longing. "We miss you," they write, "but we will keep your light alive." It's a strange kind of immortality, the kind that isn't about fame, but about emotion. He became more than just a man on a screen. He became a symbol of tenderness in a world that often forgets how to feel. As the sun sets each day, there's a quiet comfort in knowing that somewhere, someone is listening to his songs, smiling through tears and remembering him. Maybe that's what he would have wanted. Not a world drowning in grief, but one still capable of love. The world stood still when Yumenglong left, but perhaps that stillness was a reminder to pause, to cherish, to hold tighter the ones we love. Because life, as he once said in an interview, isn't about how long you shine, but how many hearts you touch while you do. And touch hearts he did. Yumenglong may be gone, but his presence lingers in every tear, every song, every piece of art he left behind. His story is no longer just his. It belongs to everyone who ever felt moved by his kindness, who ever found comfort in his smile, who ever dared to dream because he showed them it was possible. The world stood still, yes, but in that stillness his light became eternal. The night after Yumenglong's passing was unlike any other. Across cities, millions of lights flickered under a sky that felt heavier than usual. In Beijing, fans gathered at the steps of the television studio where he had filmed some of his most iconic roles. The soft murmur of his music filled the air, blending with the quiet sobs of those who couldn't yet believe he was truly gone. Candles painted the streets in gold, and his photographs, smiling, radiant, full of life, rested gently beside white lilies and letters folded with trembling hands. It was a scene of heartbreak, but also of connection. Strangers embraced each other as if they had known one another for years, bound by the same grief and love for the man who had once made them believe in magic. Some fans sang his songs in shaky voices, their words breaking halfway through from emotion. Others simply stood in silence, staring up at the night sky, whispering his name as though he could still hear them. It wasn't just mourning, it was devotion. In Shanghai, large screens that once displayed advertisements now played clips from his dramas, scenes from Old Boy, The Love Lasts Two Minds, and All Out of Love looped endlessly, as if the city itself refused to let go. Pedestrians stopped mid-step, watching him smile, cry, and laugh again. Many wept openly. Even those who had never followed his career couldn't help but pause, moved by the sight of a man whose gentleness seemed to transcend the screen. Meanwhile, social media became a living memorial. His final post, an image of a sunset with a caption, "Every ending holds another beginning," was shared millions of times. Fans flooded the comments with disbelief. "Was this your goodbye?" someone asked. "We weren't ready," wrote another. His name became more than a trend. It became a heartbeat pulsing through timelines, uniting people from every corner of the world. Among those mourning deeply was Xiaozhan. He had been one of Yumenglong's closest friends, someone who had shared laughter on set, late-night conversations about life, and the unspoken bond that only artists truly understand. When the news broke, Xiaozhan locked himself away for hours, unable to speak. Days later, when he finally appeared in public, the crowd saw the raw truth of grief in his eyes. At a quiet tribute event, he took the stage but couldn't begin his speech. For a moment, the hall was silent except for the faint echo of sobbing. Then, in a trembling voice, he said, "He taught me that even in pain, you can be gentle. That is what I'll remember forever." Behind the cameras and fame, Yumenglong had always been known for his quiet kindness. Directors spoke of how he treated every member of the crew with equal respect, how he would arrive early to help the makeup artists or bring warm drinks for staff working long hours. There was a story shared by a lighting technician. One night, during a freezing outdoor shoot, Menglong noticed a crew member shivering in the corner. Without hesitation, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around the man. He said nothing, the technician recalled, just smiled and went back to work in his thin shirt. That was who Yumenglong was, a man who cared without needing to be seen doing it. Even in fame, he remained humble. He once told a journalist during an interview, "I don't want to be remembered just as an actor. I want to be remembered as someone who made people feel something real." Those words, once overlooked, now cut deeply in hindsight, because he had done exactly that. After his death, fans began revisiting his interviews and music videos, discovering pieces of him they hadn't noticed before. In one clip, he looked directly into the camera and said softly, "When you love the world, it will love you back, even if you're not here to see it." That line began circulating everywhere, written on murals, posted on signs, printed on t-shirts. His words had become eternal. In his hometown, a small vigil was held near the lake where he often went to clear his mind. Locals remembered seeing him there late at night, sitting alone with a notebook in his lap. He would hum softly, lost in thought. After the news of his death, the spot became sacred ground for fans. People came from miles away, leaving letters, origami cranes, and flowers. Some claimed that when the wind blew across the water at dusk, it sounded like his voice, soft, calm, eternal. His colleagues continued to share personal memories that painted a portrait of a man both brilliant and deeply human. Actress Zhang Yuxi, who starred with him in The Love Lasts Two Minds, described how he would always encourage her between takes when she doubted herself. "He had this quiet confidence that made everyone around him stronger," she said. "He didn't need to speak loudly. His presence said enough." Even children adored him. During fan meets, he would kneel to their level, talk to them gently, and sign autographs with little drawings beside his name. Parents often said that Yumenglong made their children smile, not because of fame, but because of his kindness. As time went on, fans began organizing tribute events across Asia, memorial concerts, art exhibitions, and even charity drives in his name. "Let's continue his kindness," one fan group wrote, donating money to children's hospitals under his foundation. Others created digital archives of his works, promising to keep his art alive for generations. His passing didn't end his influence, it magnified it. For many, the hardest part was knowing that someone who gave so much love to the world had quietly carried his own pain. People revisited old photos and noticed the subtle melancholy in his eyes, a sadness hidden behind his trademark smile. Some speculated that he had been battling inner struggles that fame couldn't fix. But perhaps, in his quiet way, he had already said goodbye through his art, leaving behind fragments of his heart in every song, every role, every gesture. One of his fans wrote a letter that went viral online. It read, "Dear Menglong, you made the world softer. You reminded us to care. You didn't just perform. You lived beautifully even in silence. Wherever you are, I hope you can see how much light you left behind. You may have left the stage, but the spotlight will never fade." Those words seemed to summarize what millions felt. And indeed, though the world had stood still the day he left, it began moving again. Slowly, gently, but never quite the same. Every smile now carried a trace of memory. Every melody of his songs brought a tear or a sigh. He had become more than just a memory. He had become a feeling, one that would forever linger in the hearts he touched. Yumenglong's story reminds us that life is fragile, but legacy is powerful. He may have left quietly, but his echo will continue to live loudly, in laughter, in kindness, in every act of love inspired by him. The candles have burned out now, but the warmth they gave remains. And somewhere, under that same vast sky, one can almost imagine him smiling, calm, radiant, and eternal, watching the world he loved continue to remember him. Because legends don't die. They simply become light.